Watch my video on taking back your power through forgiveness to kind of gain an extra understanding on what I'm about to say. You know what I'm saying? When we're holding on to things, we're being weighed down. Sometimes it's manifest in how our life is going. Sometimes it manifests in pain in the body. Sometimes it manifests in shit like headaches and stuff like that because you're just thinking about certain shit, constantly stressing yourself out. You know what I'm saying? This happens in people we manifest into our life. You'll still be working out the issues with your parents in your relationships. And it's like you can't get rid of it until you just deal with it. You know what I'm saying? So you just brought your mommy issues with you to your girlfriend. And then you leave her because of them same mommy issues and bring them to your next girlfriend because you didn't let them go. You know what I'm saying? It's baggage. You just going from airport to airport with all this baggage and it's just weighing you down. You can't float. You can't get to where you want to be. Your life is getting ruined. Every relationship you in, y'all butting heads, or you know what I'm saying, you can't really find peace for too long. At you guys' core, when you're at your core, everything's good. But, when the baggage comes in and it starts being unloaded, it just becomes too much. Why is that? You know what I'm saying? Because we're still holding on to it. That's why you got to forgive. You don't want to forget. It's not about forgetting. It's not about releasing and just pretending like it didn't happen and none of that. It's not about none of that. It's about letting it go because it's holding you back. It's holding you down. You know what I'm saying? It's weighing you down. So you have to just let it go. And it's tough. It's hard to let it go. You know what I'm saying? That's why sometimes, let's say you have a problem with your dad or you a nigga. Maybe you got to fight your dad. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you got to fight your big brother. And even if you lose, maybe it's easier to forgive that way. Sometimes you got to go that extra route, you know what I'm saying? But other times, you can still just do it in your mind. You can still start to do physical work to release it. You don't have to come to blows, but sometimes you may have to do that as well. I'm just putting that out there. Y'all can fight, and have a black eye or something. You and your brother, you and your uncle, you and your brother, you and your dad or something. And after that, niggas can just shake it up and start talking it out afterwards. You just let all the aggression and stuff out. That could be one way, but you just have to find your way to forgiveness. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't even mean to talk for that long to start off but this is very important. This is one of the things that hold us back. And everything that we don't deal with in our conscious mind is something that's going to affect us in our life subconsciously. You know what I'm saying? It's something that's going to affect us in our actions. You know what I'm saying? So one of the ways that I started being able to forgive a lot easier is looking at my age and realizing I'm not old. So I'm 26. You know what I'm saying? I have friends that range from like age 40, 41, all the way back to maybe my Xbox friends that might be like 18, sometimes 17. I try not to be cool with anybody that young, but maybe I'll just play a game of 2K with them or something like that, you know what I'm saying? But those is where my friends range. And I use the term friend very loosely, and peering into their lives. I'm looking at it like my friend that's 41 years old. Are they even really that old? I'm like, yo, this person is still goofy. Because I'm seeing a version of their avatar when they're allowed to be themselves. You know what I'm saying? But they might have a wife. They might have kids. And they can't be the goofy guy and be the dad. Not saying you can't be a fun dad, but you know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying? They may have to act a certain way to keep shit in line in their house. And then, when they're with the fellas or whatever, they might act another way. You know what I'm saying? If they're a responsible parent. But when you're friends with them and you're seeing a certain side, and you're learning about them and all of that, and you're talking to them and you're seeing what they're going through and you're getting their perspective, you start saying like, damn, 41 ain't really that old. You know what I'm saying? And my mom is like 45. So, or 46, one of those. So I've been drinking. So she so I start looking at it like, yeah, 41 is not that old. 26 is not that old. I've said it before, like in the ancient world, you was a baby until you was 40. So my mom is like 46. It's like now she would just now be getting things going. Like, how we in this society is portrayed on how you like graduate college. You know what I'm saying? That's how and then your life gets started. That's how it's supposed to be when you hit your 40s in the ancient world. That's why you always see emperors and chiefs and shit. They're not really like young. They're usually older. You know what I'm saying? They're usually like an older person, because you need wisdom before you could get those type of jobs, those type of titles. We trust with that. Yeah, sometimes they're young, but again, you know what I'm trying to say. So when I see that, when you have a coworker who's like 38, you know what I'm saying, and you guys are having real nigga talk, y'all talking about y'all bills, y'all talking about shit in y'all relationship, y'all might be talking, he might be telling you like, man, she caught me on one of them websites, man, and now I'm on the couch. Shit crazy, nigga. Like, this how when I used to work at like places like Best Buy, this how me and my coworkers be talking. And I couldn't relate all the way because I wasn't living with a woman yet, because I was a lot younger. I'm like 18, 19. So I'd be like, yeah, man, my girl, she doing XYZ too. But like talking to him and realizing like this is what the life of a 30-year-old, 8-year-old man is like. In my mind as a kid, you know what I'm saying? Because you just see adults as adults and their lives are just so mysterious and you don't be knowing what the fuck is going on and stuff. I'm thinking 38-year-old is like, get away from me, grandpa. Gramps, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you an old ass man. And again, because a lot of people wasn't as focused on their health as they are now. So 38 might have been like 58 for no reason when I was a kid, because a lot of niggas was, letting themselves go. So I'm thinking 38 is old and washed and stuff. And niggas is just like, they just behave a certain way. They just be like, dads just act a certain way. That's how I used to think until I started having friends that's 38. Like when I was a kid, I thought 26, like okay, let me slow down. You know what I'm saying? I don't care how long this video gonna be. I want this to make sense. All right, so when I was a kid, I would see adults and stuff. You know what I'm saying? You seeing teenagers, you seeing adults and stuff, and you thinking their life is one way because you really don't know. So when you see those two people and they pop up with their baby and they just came from their apartment and they got their little car and stuff, you know what I'm saying? You don't even know how hard their life is. You don't even know how amazing it is that they could be 19 with an apartment and a car. You know what I'm saying? You go to their house and they might have like, some food stamp type food in the house. So, they got snacks, they got sodas and stuff. You don't even realize like even this cheap shit, the fact that they have a couch, even though it's cheap, all of this stuff, this is not easy to maintain. You know what I'm saying? You really don't get that understanding until you're in the shoes. You don't even know that you could have been at your cousin's house. Y'all playing video games, you having a good time, and then you leave, and it's like, this nigga's worried about how he's gonna pay and keep the light on. You know what I'm saying? But you his big cousin, you his little cousin. You her little cousin, you know what I'm saying? They want to show you a good time. They might even take you out to eat or something. They just want to make you feel good. They love you. But all while they doing that, the bills is piling up on them. So as I get older and you start to experience these things for yourself, you know what I'm saying? And I kind of been experiencing them because I've been, having to chip in a lot earlier than some people. So when I was like 19 and 20, I was feeling the bills and shit because I got to pay for school. There's always something wrong with my car. You know what I'm saying? So I'm feeling this shit a little earlier, but there's still people who have it worse. Like when my mom was 19, she was pregnant with me. She's still like an immigrant who's only been in the country for 3 years. You know what I'm saying? She's technically like homeless. She's bouncing around, That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm trying to paint this picture of how you can learn how to forgive people when you really, really get an idea. Like, you can never really walk in your mom's shoes. You can never really walk in your dad's shoes. You can never really walk in your uncle's shoes. You don't really know what they was thinking. That's why you can't excuse their behavior, and that's why you maybe can't fault them all the way. You know what I'm saying? So you all right, let me keep going. So when you start to be 19, and then you start to be 26, and then if you're 30, or if you're younger than 30, you eventually be 30, you eventually be older, and you're like, you should feel like, damn, this is really not that old. One, you're like, damn, this is the life of a 31-year-old. Like, a lot less people have kids and stuff today, and you can have mixed opinions about that. That's not what I'm talking about, but it's just facts. A lot less people be having kids and stuff like that today. You'll see a lot more 30-year-olds with no kids and stuff. Personally, I don't give a fuck about what they statistics be, because these niggas is liars. I'm talking about what I see with my own two eyes. You know what I'm saying? I feel like when I was growing up, maybe just because I'm Jamaican, everybody had a baby at some point. That's why niggas be looking at me crazy, the fact that I don't have a baby yet. You know what I'm saying? It's like what? You haven't even almost got somebody pregnant? Like, what was wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? Because everybody just at some point had a baby. And I'm looking at it like, I can't even believe. Fuck the people who are struggling. Fuck them for a second. Let's talk about the niggas who are successful. Because sometimes when your parents is successful, because you gotta understand, the TV portrays an image of us where we are like low life, nothing, classless people. You know what I'm saying? And we don't even realize, like, if you look it up statistically, the shit that you see on TV with like the Brenda's got a baby, the baby mama drama, the single parents, the like divorced wives and the back and forths and the shit like that, the toxicness, statistically that doesn't even line up with what's real. Like, do the research for yourself. I'm not even gonna post it. That doesn't even line up with how many people is married and shit in real life, young or old. You know what I'm saying? That TV just portrays a fake ass reality. So we can't even understand that so many of us actually do come from so-called traditional families and stuff, but yet we still have these problems. So you gotta ask, what's the source of these problems? Because it ain't from baby mama drama. You know what I'm saying? You might think you better than somebody because your parents and shit was married. Oh, you got a traditional family, but you still fucked up in the head too. And then you judgmental, so you being judgmental, and then you judgmental, so it's like you being judgmental, that blocks you from seeing how you fucked up. You know what I'm saying? You pointing the finger, you can't see the ones that are pointed back at you. You know what I'm saying? You know how that phrase go. So now that I'm older, going back to the people who's successful, I'm looking at it like, you was 32 and you had 3 kids and you had like 3 cars and you had a 401k and a career, and you went to school and you was going back to school for your master's, and you would work overtime, and you had to volunteer at your kid's school, and you had to go to your kid's game. You know what I'm saying? Or you at least attempted to do some of these things. Or maybe you didn't. Because some people, that's the problem with their parents. Their parents didn't do that type of stuff. Maybe you didn't. But the fact that you was 32 and you successful, and you got a house, and you got a nice house, and you got cars, even if they're not like Lexuses and shit like that, just like, you got to understand, until you become an adult, you don't even realize what it is that what it is to have to maintain all this shit. Like, you telling me you was 32, you had to maintain all of that. You definitely had mental trauma and shit. You know what I'm saying? That's a given, because we all do, that you wasn't dealing with or open to deal with. And then it's like your kid might break his bed and you got to buy another bed, and you got to buy him a PSP for his birthday, and you got to take your wife out to eat, and you got to go to your kid's game. You know what I'm saying? So if you was ideally, like, if your parent was suburban and that's how y'all was living, they was 33, 34, 35 having to do all of that, it's like I instantly just have a newfound respect. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, yo, 34 is young. You know what I'm saying? 33 is young. It doesn't appear that way because our ages are being rushed. Our time is being sped up. You know what I'm saying? We doing things before our time. We are being hit with all these responsibilities and things way before our ancestors and stuff had to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are, a lot of us come from abusive houses and situations and broken families and shit. So we be living on our own sometimes from like 13, 14, 15, 16. I think my mom was just homeless in New York at 16. You know what I'm saying? When I was 16, I thought 16 was old because motherfuckers was having babies. Niggas was having shootouts. Niggas was selling crack. Niggas was doing all different types of things while being 16. While, I don't mean to laugh, but this is how I cope. While even being younger than that. So I'm thinking 16 is old. So my mom be telling me these stories. I can't even imagine. You know what I'm saying? So you have to start to do the same. You got to start realizing, like, even from a good scenario, if your parent was 41 and doing the things that I'm describing, and which is just some basic shit, because they might look at it like they was moving mountains, but coming to your game is what they supposed to do. Buying you a new bed because you 7, retarded, and you like to jump up and down because they've been feeding you sugar, and sugar's like crack for kids, is what you're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, like, now that I look at 41 is not that old, now that I look at 35 is not that old, I have a newfound respect for it. And then when I look at the motherfuckers like my mom, who's like 20, 21 with an apartment, with a car, with a kid, with a whole, all of this to maintain. Nigga, when I was 20 and the school needed their money and I'm trying to keep my phone on, I'm trying to keep my phone on and the school needed the money, and it's like all these, I'm getting overdrafted 24/7. I gotta pay my uncle all this money that I owe him. It's like all this shit is happening. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have any kids. I technically don't have to pay rent and stuff. You know, even if my parents are asking for contribution, I'm not necessarily having to pay full rent like she was. I'm not paying a full light bill, a full heating bill, and having to take care of a kid, and having to get him to school. You know what I'm saying? Pay for daycare. You know what I'm saying? When you get him from daycare and have to go to school. Like, and then I was a bad kid. So I make that even harder. It's like you at work. Like, cause now I'm at, when I was at work, even when you work at Target, Best Buy, whatever, it don't matter where you working. Don't let nobody belittle it and try to make it seem like you're not a hard worker. What you're doing isn't so-called real work. Even if that's just your job, imagine you trying to do your job and somebody calling you and it's like, yo, your son is down here bugging again. You know what I'm saying? This nigga has obviously lost his mind again. You know what I'm saying? Because I be doing crazy shit. You know, I might be good for 6 days in a row, maybe 6.5. But on that 7th day, I just piss in the trash can in the middle of class. Why? I don't know. I don't know. But I'm just thinking, like, damn, my mom had to do all of that. Because when I was 6 in 1st grade, my mom was 23. When I was 23, I couldn't, like, yes, I was running a business and stuff, and it was pressure and all of that, but it's like, I just couldn't imagine also having a kid, also having all these things going on, while you're still battling childhood trauma, while you haven't even been in the country for over 10 years, you're still like an immigrant. You know what I'm saying? Imagine you just moved to France right now, and have to go get a kid, and have a kid, and have to get a job, an apartment, have to manage all of that. What would that be like for you? I start thinking about all these things, and I'm like, okay, I can see I can't be mad. I can be mad, but I can't hold on to the anger. You know what I'm saying? I can accept that I'm angry. I could even try to think why I'm angry. I could do this all day. You know what I'm saying? I could start yelling. I could get emotional. I could even start crying about this. You know what I'm saying? Because it makes you feel all different types of ways. Especially as you start to value yourself. Especially as you start to see that certain things are just wrong. But I can't really be mad. I can't direct that energy and be like just walking around resentful. You know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't even matter what way I want to justify it. If I want to justify it from how we supposed to be living as indigenous people who incarnate on this earth, in any, like, we've never been living like this in any lifetime. Even in so-called slave days, they was still, like, at least you could say on the plantation. I'm not even gonna go there. We was never living so departed from each other and so disconnected from each other probably in any lifetime. You know what I'm saying? So you're having to do a lot on your own. And hold up, you just get to a point of, as you get older, being like, damn, I understand. I understand. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand fully because I wasn't fully walking in your shoes, but I'm starting to understand. And then I even understand my mom's friends and them pain. You know what I'm saying? When I'm like, okay, my mom's friends are just, I don't know if I could say this in the right way, but the same way I used to be in the house and my mom is talking to her friends, that's kind of like how you in the house and your girlfriend is talking to her friends. Like, you can use these people to say that they're like the new 26-year-old version. Like, when your mom was 26, use these people as a reference of what 26-year-olds act like. So when they're having a story with their friend and their friend is telling them some story about somebody was following them, or this crazy thing was happening, or they're in some sort of crazy situation where they got to move out of their house because their boyfriend is attacking them, or maybe they have a friend and the girl is like stabbing their tires, and it's like you listening to all these stories and it's like, damn, you even start reaching a place of understanding for your uncles, for the family friends, for all of that. And you might start saying like, damn, maybe that's why that lady was so mean. I would be mean as hell too if that's what my husband was putting me through, if that's what my wife was putting me through. Maybe, like, you know, you don't want to necessarily 100% justify their wrongdoing, but you get to a place of understanding, so it kind of helps you release. You know what I'm saying? I'm basically trying to say I'm at a point where I'm realizing we've been dealing with a lot of craziness that has made us crazy. Even when your parent has like a Beamer and y'all live in the suburbs, because that's really the majority. I'm starting to feel like that's actually the majority. We think it's the minority, but it's actually the majority. I'm not afraid to say that. That's just what I feel like I'm seeing in my reality. That's the majority for me. You know what I'm saying? So even when that's happening, there could still be a lot going on. And it may be harder for you to realize because it's like, how can I have anything bad going on when I do well financially? You know, I'm not living in the Brenda's Got a Baby story. My parents are married. I got a car when I was 17 or when I first got my license. You know what I'm saying? So how can I, you know, be having anything wrong? That's where you have to change your perspective. Or that's where you have to be more open to understanding that certain things aren't okay. And the benefit of doing that is you remove the behavior. You know what I'm saying? So the difference of you manifesting, let's say, a crazy nigga and a regular nigga that actually isn't crazy, is you removing or recognizing crazy behavior that you witnessed or something growing up that may be a part of your programming. And all you have to do is acknowledge that shit is crazy, and being like, okay, That's crazy. That shouldn't have happened. That was bad. And once you start doing that, you can start recognizing this behavior when it comes up with other people. Then it's easier to who you attract and who you avoid and things of that nature. So I'm saying all of this to say is you almost like trying to just put yourself in the person's shoes. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like maybe this is related more to parents, because it's kind of harder to, yes, you can take this perspective with like an abuser or something, depending on what kind of abuse it is. Maybe if it's verbal or just plain like physical abuse, it might be a little easier. I don't think it's as easy if it's sexual abuse. I really don't think it's easy if it's any kind of abuse, to be honest, even if it's just verbal. You know what I'm saying? This could be very hard to let go of. It could be very hard to excuse. Because once you realize, it's like, damn, you really didn't have to be talking to me like that. Because you be going back in your mind, it's like, damn, why am I getting yelled at like that? Because the remote is the batteries is dead. Like, a lot of times I'll be getting yelled at, and it would be because they were from another country and couldn't really understand technology and understand how things work. So you getting screamed on because the TV that they bought in like 1982 doesn't work anymore, and they're confused, or something that starts malfunctioning with it, and they're confused and they just think you broke it. You know what I'm saying? You put a tape in the VCR, now the VCR don't work, and everyone is just, you know what I'm saying, confused and upset with you. And it's not even your fault. It's because the VCR is like 20 years old. So all of these things, you know, may be hard to let go of. And one of the ways that I have done it personally is just putting myself in their shoes. Now that I'm 26, I'm trying to think of, damn, niggas was 26 and had multiple kids, bro. Niggas is 26 and have multiple kids, but they have apartments and all of this stuff, and was doing it by themselves. And in my cases, most times when I'm reliving that, I'm talking about someone who's from a whole other country, bro, and they come in here and having to adjust. And I'm like, damn, that's a lot. I could see why maybe you just be yelling and screaming. I could see why you be mad because you don't got no work-life balance. I could see how you make questionable decisions. You know what I'm saying? I could see how my dad could leave me behind to go hang with some women because he's horny. You know what I'm saying? When you get older, yeah, like I said, I wouldn't do this myself, but when you get older and you be horny, you could be like, oh, I could see how a nigga, you know, he thinking with his dick. You know what I'm saying? He like, yo, I ain't really trying to chill with my son right now. You know what I'm saying? I ain't really getting too much out of that. You know, if I take this shorty out to eat, you know what I'm saying? Maybe take her to the mall, buy her a little something, might get my dick sucked. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's just what he's thinking in his mind. And I don't think it's right. But I'm just at the age now where I could understand these thoughts. You know what I'm saying? I could see him being like, yeah, you know, I could buy you something. Or I could take a shorty to the Bahamas. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, buying you something, that's cool and all, I'm your dad, but if I take it to the Bahamas, I'm gonna be getting ass all week in the Bahamas, son. You know what I'm saying? What sounds more fun? You know what I'm saying? And you can't really, like, honestly, I can't really be mad at that. It's really fucked up, but I can't be mad at that. You know what I'm saying? It's silly thinking, it's fucked up thinking. It probably stems from some sort of negative behavior. And now that I'm joking about that, but not really. But now that I'm at this place, I understand. I'm just saying I can't really find fault in them like that. You know, I just find it amazing that, like, this is why I can't judge niggas and stuff like that either, because I just understand. I understand what can make you be pregnant from somebody that you've only been talking to for a month. I understand how it works. I've witnessed it. I've read on it. I've studied it. So it's like, I don't need to judge you. I just understand, you know. And now that I'm living in these times, I'm having friends that do these things, and we talk about excuse me. And we talk about it, stuff like that. It's like, I just understand even more, because everyone is like an archetype. You you got to think of like your friend that's like 32 that you be scrolling by on Facebook and stuff. Just think about your uncle when he was 32. Think about your aunt when she was 32. You know what I'm saying? You might not have seen that side of her. You might not have seen the Facebook side, unless you got a real hood ass aunt. Them relatives from the hood, they don't give a fuck. They keeping it real. But you might not have seen, and you still might not have seen all the way. You might not have seen all the way that side. But you gotta use your friend that you see online. You gotta use these people as like symbols for like how your aunt, how your uncle, how your mom, how your dad was acting. You know what I'm saying? How they could have been living, what they could have been going through. And it'll kind of help you paint a better picture. But that's basically it, man. You don't want to hold on to these things. You want to let them go, as hard as they might be. And like I said, I just like, I could go all day. My grandma started off our family when she was 16, and we come from a super religious world. The world is still religious, but it's a lot more New Testament religious, meaning it's a little looser. They come from an Old Testament world where it's hardcore, not the Little Kim hardcore. real strict, like jean skirt down to your ankles hardcore. You know what I'm saying? So when you doing that, you like an outcast in the society. You're not married. You just having babies with all these different men. It's like you just like a outcast in the society. You know what I'm saying? You looked at like a low life. People look down on you. You like just I'm like, these things still happen today, but it was a lot more extreme back then. Because we actually were more of a community, as people love to gloss and fantasize over. So I even just think about that. Like, people like to say, oh, it was a different time. We was more mature. Our minds were more advanced, or whatever niggas like to say. But I'm just like, damn, at one point she had like 5 kids. It might have been like, what, I think 22 or 23, because she was having them back to back. And I'm just like, yo, imagine being 16. And then you have a kid and you live on your own. And then by the time you're 23, you got 5 kids, different dads. You know what I'm saying? Just fending for yourself. And I just see like how that could be crazy as hell for someone to be handling, and all that could come with that. And I could see the negative traits that could be passed on by all the trauma that could come from having to be 23, which is more of like a experience, live, make mistakes, learn from your mistakes type of age, instead of being like a full-time mom and stuff. Ain't nothing wrong with having 4 kids at 23, but it's all about doing this stuff. It's different if you're like if you guys already got y'all money and stuff, or you already have a plan, or you're already secure in some which way. I'm talking about somebody who's working with scraps. You know what I'm saying? So the more I see that, the more I gain understanding. It's like you just gotta forgive immediately. You gotta, let me not say that. You don't gotta forgive immediately, but it's just like, it just paints a different picture. It's just like, okay, I can see how grandma might have been crazy. Because that would drive me crazy. Because imagine having 1 kid. I used to have to watch my little brother a lot when he was a baby, my youngest brother. And that crying and shit, that shit was a lot. So imagine having 5 kids, and the oldest is only like 5 or 6. And you just got them saddled with you and you by yourself. I can see how you go crazy and you pass your craziness on. And then that person passes their craziness on. And then here you are, the product of that crazy situation, just trying to make the best of it. But as the product of it, and realizing this and analyzing this, it's like I just realized, at some point somebody got to make changes. At some point somebody got to make some different moves, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I try to do the best, And one of the best ways to do that is to forgive. You know what I'm saying? I probably keep repeating that over and over, but that's good. Hopefully it sinks in. After you watch this, you just ready to forgive a nigga from first grade and you don't even know why. But yeah, man, you gotta let it go, because when you holding on to things, when you being weighed down, you can't open up. And if you can't open up, opening up is where the abundance, where the wealth, where the power, where the knowledge, where the freedom, where all these things start to come in. Those are where you start seeing words of that nature. When you closed off, you start seeing words that relate to blockages and nothing happening and slow moving and low vibes and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So when you closed off, you start seeing a lot of blockages and words that relate to that. So you definitely want to learn to let go and open up. Because if you're tired of the experiences you having, then you need to let them go and be open to new ones. Sometimes it's just us not ready to move on, not ready to open up, not ready to change our mindset, not ready to let go. And you might have to take baby steps, but it's important. And I hope painting this picture, you'll go home, and even when you're scrolling your timeline and you see somebody who's like 28 with a kid, I hope that paints a picture of you of like what your dad could have been like, what your mom could have been like. You know what I'm saying? It's like your friend that's like that. You that's like that right now. You living that, because I'm sure if you're watching this, you more than likely is living that. So you watching this and living that. What the fuck is your life like? And imagine what they had to go through, maybe with even less resources, or even with more resources. It don't even matter. Picture their age and, just do a compare and contrast. And hopefully it doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps you to be like, okay, I see. Yes, okay, this is starting to add up. It's starting to make sense. Okay. And, that's going to be a big part of your healing journey. And once you start to do that, once you start to release, you're going to start to see how things just open up in your life. You're going to start to see how things start to pour in, because you're no longer holding on to these things that was weighing you down. So now you can float. You know what I'm saying? So one step at a time, one day at a time, get ready to forgive, be open to forgiveness. And I'll say, like I said again, this one is probably about parents, but if you want to apply this to other people, be my guest. But I'll say, this probably works best with parents. I try to be real and come from a place of understanding. So I don't want to act like these things ain't heavy and they don't affect us, but the fact that they affect us is the problem, and we can obviously acknowledge that. So it's time to do some work to make it stop affecting us, so positive things can affect us, so our life can be a result of positive things. We can live a positive life because our life is a result of positive things affecting us, or something. I don't know. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it makes sense. Hope it sparks the brain. Hope it leads you to a place of understanding. I hope you start forgiving. Peace.